Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche post-game show presented by Bet365. We got E and Rudo coming to you live, breaking down the Avs win 4-1 over the Utah Hockey Club. First of all, before we get into anything specific, that was a good hockey game. I really enjoyed that hockey game. It was a fun one. Both teams felt like they were playing pretty well for most of the night. Both goalies played really well. Just a good back and forth game. It's nice. It feels like the Avs haven't gotten enough of that this year.
No, I agree with you. I didn't. I expected more. Like you, the term you use all the time is squirrely. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you know, I expected it to be a little bit like unconnected. Just because of the fact that you don't step on the ice for 4 days, or maybe that was the recipe. I mean, it's been such a crazy year. Maybe it was that they needed a little bit. Not that they've been bad; they've won 4 in a row. This is a good team. Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but I just expected them to not be really sharp. I thought the passes were crisp. I thought it was like connected. I thought it was exciting. Yeah, it was 1-1, and it felt like a 5-5 game. You know what I mean? Yeah, so you're right. Both goals. Yeah, it did. It was fun hockey, and then both goalies were up to the task tonight. I mean, God, that guy Mecca, whatever you say his name, he always seems to play well against the Avalanche. But yeah, it was fun. You got McKinnon fighting. You got some electricity, some electrifying moments. It was fun. It was just like it was an upbeat game, and you can see why those two teams have been good in the last 10 games, for example, in the standings, 7-3 and then 6-2-2. So it was a solid divisional hockey game. And again, the good guys got on top, and that's all that matters. And, they got the 2 points, and now they get to go home for a 4-game stretch, right? I believe it's 4. So
yeah, it is 4.
Yeah, 4, yeah.
Look, I know this is a conversation that we've had a lot, but that game felt a whole lot more like what it was supposed to be for the Avalanche this season. And that isn't just the goaltending, though that definitely played a factor, and we'll definitely talk about it. That's a hockey game where it felt like you were getting quality hockey for the majority of the game out of the majority of the Avs lineup. Now, it wasn't perfect. Obviously, that 10-minute stretch to start the third period, the Avs are going to look at and probably not be very happy with. But on the whole, it felt like there was a more complete game from the Colorado Avalanche, I would say. We talked about this earlier this week, I guess last week, where it feels like the Avs haven't put it all together all that often this season for a hockey game, and they felt like they put most of it together in this one.
For sure. And I think if you dissect it in the sense that, there was, like, you're right, a couple periods, I would say 5-7 minutes, where all of a sudden they would lose momentum. And I hate to say it, but I'll say it again. There's 2 teams on the ice, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then that's a good team on the other side. I'm very impressed by that team, actually. I think that the Bear Touring, he's got them playing very well structured hockey. I think that they're playing with some up-tempo pace to their game. It was a fun game, like you just said. Like I said, you just said it. But I felt that for the most part, when the Avalanche fell in those little, gaps, there are 5-7 minutes, and that's why they made the deal they made today. When I say the deal they made, they signed the goaltender. We were just talking with Tiff there off air before it started. Like, Tiff was not screaming and panicking, and that's how I feel. And I've said that since they made, the switches, where I'm comfortable. I feel good. And this is the player in me, like the hat in me, as a player talking. You're on the bench. You're like, he's going to do the job. We got the right guy for the job. And you're not on pins and needles thinking, okay, we're going to have a bad 5-7 minutes, which is very normal to have. And then we're going to get potted 2 or 3 against. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden he calms the waters down. He makes the saves. He looks very comfortable. He looks under control. He is a good goalie. And then, one gets by him. It's a sick tip, by the way, by Schmaltz.
It is, yeah.
And then, he doesn't get rattled. It's okay. The Avalanche are up 1-0. Then that's 1-1 from that play. And the Avalanche have closed out every game this year, leading after 2. What did they do? they go to the net, they make that second goal, they're Lehkonen, and that's what goaltending does. You know what I mean? So when you're not, I hate to say it, I don't want to say it when you're not at your best, but when the opposition is getting the better of you is a better way to say it,
Yep.
because teams are good in the National Hockey League. So then your goaltending is there to save the day, and that's why you sign a guy like that today, and that's why they, again, I'm not going to say it's just he might have some bad games here coming up, but for the most part, this got to be up to the task, and they made the right decision today, and I think tonight it just gives you a little sample of what you're going to see here down the stretch.
Yeah, I think you put it extremely well, and we'll talk about Blackwood specifically a little bit more later, but it's just reality that the way we put it earlier in the season, when your goaltender is struggling, every mistake you make in a hockey game is amplified. When your goaltender is playing well, every mistake you make gets covered up. And I think that really was the case for the down portions of this game for the Avs. On the other side of that coin, there were long stretches of this game where the Avs looked great. We can start chronologically.
Yep.
The first 10 minutes of the first period, the Avs were dominating this hockey game. They were just all over Utah in every aspect except for actually scoring a goal.
You're right. And I don't know. I mean, I felt that's what I was most surprised by. You know what I mean? What was the the first 10 minutes? I really was expecting something bad, because I've seen it sometimes over the years where it is bad because you haven't skated in 4 days. You skate this morning, you travel. It's all messed.
No
What?
offense to Mikko Rantanen, but he was bad exactly like that.
It's usually tougher for bigger bodies, honestly. I don't know why. It just feels that way. I was scared for Blackwood a little bit too, because he's a big fella. And, I don't know. I felt I was expecting to be just awful around the league. It was pretty bad in the first period for the road team tonight. Some teams made comebacks and, like all that kind of stuff. But like Minnesota made a comeback. But I just felt they would, if they could just keep it to even or better, which was one of the keys, and they did. But I was more happy, not the fact that it was 0-0, but just to your point, the first 10 minutes I thought were really good. The Avalanche were engaged. They had some legs, and I was like, all right, maybe I am full of poo-poo, like in my thoughts. But, I was laughing watching it because I was like, man, it feels like they're just really just rolling right now. So it was fun to watch. I was very pleasant with that first 10 minutes.
Yeah, it felt good to see Colorado, I guess, be a little bit more consistent. And I know that sounds weird in a game where it felt like it was pretty back and forth for Utah and Colorado, where it felt like one team would play a better 5 minutes than the other team would answer, and it would go like that. But the Avs didn't really ever crater in this hockey game. And I know the portion of the third was not good. They went far too long without generating enough offense, but the defensive side of it, at least at 5-on-5, obviously they gave up the power play goal, but their 5-on-5 defense wasn't giving up ridiculously high danger at that time either. So I'm still hesitant to say anything because I've said this 3 or 4 times this year, but it just starts to feel like some of those screws are getting tightened for Colorado as a hockey team. And things like Nathan MacKinnon being great tonight are not all that surprising. The superstars do superstar stuff, sure. But watching, and Eric, maybe you can agree or disagree with me on this. Although he doesn't produce a point tonight, and he did have one very, very bad turnover in the neutral zone pretty early in the game, Casey Middlestat on the whole, his game was much, much better tonight.
Yeah, and when you're not producing points, and you're counted on, at 56, Joe Druin, Middlestat, those types of I don't want to say mid-tier guys because they're better than that, but the 50 to 60 point guys,
second line guys.
Second line guys. You're counted on to put some numbers, and when you're not putting up numbers, there's a saying in the NHL, and there's a saying with coaches too, like then you got to go back to basics and do the little things that matter, not necessarily on the score sheet, but on winning a hockey game. And I do believe you're right. There was one shift I didn't like. I want to say it's in the first period. I didn't like one of his shifts. It's, turnover, and then he lost a battle, like right there, the blue line, at his own blue line. He
Yep.
didn't come up with the pocket, and then and I'm gonna say San Jose, not San Jose, but Utah, at some momentum and some flow there, and then he got tired, and the five guys on the ice are tired. But other than that, I thought he did the little things right. And when you start doing that, the points will come. That's how it works. I don't know why it's been like this for 100 years, and it'll be like that the next 100 years. When you're not producing, when I'm talking point wise, then you go back to basics and you go back to simple things, and you can help a team win a hockey game, even though you're not getting paid, to make 0 points. You're getting paid to actually produce, but it makes it even worse when you're not producing and you're not doing the little things. You know what I mean? And then it's a double-edged sword there, and then it's like it gets worse, and then your game starts leaking, and it's not pretty. So I agree with you. I thought KC was better, and then sometimes it's not the next game or it's the game after that all of a sudden you unblocked a little bit your point production, and then you start feeling good about your game, and then it's just history, and then you look forward.
Yeah, it's not just Middlestat either. And look, I think the key with Middlestat here is not necessarily him playing a perfect game, but it felt like he was driving more offense throughout this game. He did attempt a couple of shots, even though I think he really should be credited with 1 shot on goal, even though right now he's credited with 0. That is what it is. But for a guy who has struggled to drive play at times, that was a lot more involved in his game tonight on a second line with for what was Colton and Mikko for most of the night. Obviously, those get jumbled up a little bit. It was good to see from him. The other guy that I wanted to mention specifically outside of our 3 stars, which we'll get to later, Josh Manson's game tonight. I feel like you got the full Josh Manson experience. That being multiple, I'm talking 4, 5, 6 elite level defensive plays. He was a monster defending against the puck tonight. And then he got the puck on his stick and things were an adventure.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I remember, so to the right of the screen, so that would be first period. I want to say it was a penalty killing. He was massive in front of the net. He cleaned up a couple rebounds the way you're supposed to clean him up, which is push him to the side. He looked like under control. He looked like he was, the Josh Manson that they've been missing. You know what I mean? As of late, obviously him being out with that wrist injury, but is he perfect? No, and you're right. It is the full experience. I saw your tweet there, or was it our DNVR tweet there? I was dying. Just like that. It's the full Josh experience experiment. And you got to remember, he hasn't practiced a lot. They have. I'm talking about with the team. So your tempo, your pace, you know what I mean? Like what you saw a couple times there, might have been like a little bit like, you know what I mean, out in the open. But for the most part, I did like his game. Like I said to you, I do like nothing against Keaton Middleton. You know what I mean? Nothing. I think I was pleasantly surprised by Keaton. But I think Josh Manson, even at 80%, so to speak, because he hasn't really practiced, is a lot better than anything else you could add in the lineup right now at this moment for the Avalanche.
Certainly the defensive plays are huge for them. The consistent ability to prevent bad plays from happening is very important, even if some turnovers do lead to second chance opportunities and things like that. We'll get into more details on the guys who really shined in tonight's game in just a minute. But before that, we got to hit some bills. Make sure right now that you go on and you get over with Live Well. Go jump on with Live Well today. Make sure you are living well with cannabis here in Colorado. 25 different locations that you can get in with. And when you're in with Live Well, that means you're living well. I don't know. I don't know how many other ways I can say live well. What you can do with Live Well, though, is go talk to their professional staff, and they'll help you through whatever product you want. If you're brand new, you can get their help with joints, with flour, with topicals, with gummies, you name it. And you can also just walk in if you're a pro. You can order online at livewell.com, pick up your products, and get out of there. So go get with Live Well today and mention code DNVR25 at the store, and you'll get 25% off any one regular priced product. Of course, conditions apply. Get living well today. Once you've taken care of all that, make sure you are also jumping on with Verizon. Verizon right now has one of their best offers that you can get. You can switch over to Verizon and they will give you up to $800 in a prepaid MasterCard to pay off your current smartphone loan when you switch. That's $800, people. That's a lot of money. That's too much money. I would immediately spend that on irresponsible things and have really nice stuff, but then still have a smartphone loan. So maybe pay off your smartphone with it. Just trade in any phone from their top brands with select unlimited plans, and Verizon will give you not just a 5G network to power your entire day, but that $800 card from MasterCard as well. So switch to Verizon. Visit your local Verizon store today for details. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Beyond just it being a fun hockey game, I think we have three particular players to really dive in on for the Colorado Avalanche. So let's get to our three stars. Star number three, gonna go to, funnily enough, Nathan MacKinnon, who, if you want to make an argument for Nathan MacKinnon higher on the list, I think that's totally fair. Nathan MacKinnon was awesome tonight. You called it. He ends up with a 3-assist night. He gets into a fight because he just decides that he hates this franchise. I don't know. What's up with that?
Well, that was funny. You never want to see the leading scorer in the National Hockey League fight, but I read a tweet like during the game. I think only 3 people have more fights than Nate MacKinnon since
LOC,
20.
Josh
and Dermy, right?
McDermott,
yeah. So you know what? Get your aggression out. That's fine. Angry Nate is good. He is the dog. I wasn't worried about him. Actually, I knew he was going to have some gas in the tank. You know what I mean? He flies on a back-to-back. He flies on a 3 and 4. So after 4 days off, you would have thought that he'd be flying. So I felt good about that. Yeah, I mean, listen, he continues to lead the league. There's a reason he leads the league. He's dynamic. He's powerful. He's fun. He's angry. And it just fuels everybody. I think it makes everybody better around him. It brings the pace up for his own team. And you're right. Third star. He could easily be first star every night. It just gets boring, and that's fine. We put him at third star for that reason. And listen, he's not gonna stay at. He's not satisfied with this. I think he. Like he said last year, he enjoyed the MVP type season. He enjoyed the leading the league or be at the top towards near the league lead in scoring. He is at the leading right now, but I mean, I think he would trade that to a long playoff run, and I do believe that that's what they're striving for, and I do believe that that's what he's striving for, and he's certainly going to bring that every night, like he did tonight, to make sure that he carries the team and everybody jumps on his back and just follows the lead that he provides.
Yeah, he is the best player on the planet on any given night. Some nights it might be Connor McDavid, some nights it might be Cale Makar, but Nathan MacKinnon is always in that mix, and sure seems like a few days off did that guy good to refresh and pop off tonight. And I know they're like, sure, you want him to score a goal or whatever, but you saw a little bit of that extra spark, that dynamic ability of Nathan MacKinnon pop out a little bit more tonight than it has been for a while. And I know he's been producing over the past 6-7 games more than that little lull that he had, but it just feels like Mac is back, if you know what I'm saying.
100%. 100%. And just look no further than the first goal. Look no further than the first goal, right? It's just not everyone can make those type of plays. He backs everybody off, right? Because they respect his speed, they respect his ability, and his rocket ship ability to just kind of, you're like, oh God, you don't want to get hit by that, so you're backing off. So, just look no further than that first goal. It tells you that he's on right now, and he's feeling it, and I think he's going to have a great month, especially with not a lot of travel for a guy that plays a lot. And I think it's going to be great to watch as Avalanche fans this month.
And part of what may have turned Nathan MacKinnon's play up is our star number 2, Mackenzie Blackwood. Once again, seems to be making these starboards quite a bit. Gives up 1 goal on the night, and it's a power play goal on a perfect tip that there is nothing he can do to stop. Utah at 5-on-5 had an expected goals for of 2.39 tonight. So well over 2 goals saved above expected for Mackenzie Blackwood at 5-on-5. Look, I think I almost feel like we have to reserve ourselves a little bit and set realistic expectations, because the way Mackenzie Blackwood has played for the Colorado Avalanche so far is next level good. He's probably not going to play this well for the rest of the season for the Avs. And if he does, the Avs are the favorites to win the cup.
Yeah, he's not getting really bad luck. You know what I mean? Like, he is saving the pucks that he's supposed to save, and then some, right? As tonight's the number shows, he did it again. But let me put it this way: if I'm Mackenzie Blackwood, what has it been, like 2 weeks now, 3 weeks, whatever it is? If I'm Mackenzie Blackwood, I get the phone call. I'm traded to the Colorado Avalanche. I'm in San Jose. I'm like, listen, I'll start walking. I'm on my way. It doesn't matter, because who doesn't want to play behind Rantanen, McKinnon, Cale Makar? It's just a dream for a guy that hasn't really had team success, right? In Jersey, they were kind of on that rebuild stage when he started, and he was young, and you think it's funny, you know what I mean? When I say funny, is probably too much too soon for him, and then injuries, and all of a sudden then he goes in San Jose. It hasn't been really fun there. I'm talking about win-wise the last couple of years. And then you're like, really? You know what I mean? Because you got to remember, guys around the league, they watch games. I'm sure he watches games. And then you picture yourself being part of that team. And you're like, I could have done better than that tonight than what I'm seeing. You know what I mean? And I'm not throwing daggers at anyone. I'm not using his name anymore.
He gave up 2 shorthanded goals in the last 10 minutes, buddy.
It's just whatever. I'm sure he's a nice guy. It's just not. You want to aspire to win the Stanley Cup. That's not the guy. So I think that Blackwood sees the opportunity and he's like, wow. And then today he shows it to you again. Could he have gambled? And I see chat and people talking about 5-5s. I mean, man, oh man, it's not a high number. I mean, you're picking. I'm going to use Casey Middlestat, and I love Casey. You're in the 6+ as a second line center. Nothing wrong with a goalie at 5.25. That's a starter in the NHL.
5.75, but
who's that?
Casey.
Casey. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Oh, okay, it's still $500,000 higher than your starter in net. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, I'm not sure where that's a big. I love the number. That's me. I do believe that he's gonna deliver. And then he could have taken the chance to go out and bet on yourself and try to make a little bit more money. We talked about it on the emergency pod, but all of a sudden it's like, I'm good. I like that number. I can put it behind me. I don't have that pressure, that distraction, and people just keep talking about, in a good way or in a bad way. Because in a good way, if you're performing well, people are going to keep bringing it up in the playoffs, and then you're going to be like, oh, it's fine. I'm going to talk about it after playoffs. Or if you're doing bad, then it's like, maybe I should have taken the offer to give me. So I like the number. I like the fact that he did it. I think it shows a little bit of respect on both sides. And I think if he keeps going like he did tonight, and he's done the last four games, like you said, is it going to be like that for 25 games in a row? Probably not. You know what I mean? But I bet you for the majority of those 25 games, it will be pretty close to what he's doing right now, because I do believe he's going to go on a run, and he is a good goalie, and he's got the perfect team in front of him to do and go make some damage there in the Western Conference for the Avalanche.
I'll say this. I know it's a small sample size of exactly one game, but we see a lot of players in the NHL get the bag And then, they play some games where they're cruising around. Maybe the effort level is down a little bit. Mackenzie Blackwood came out tonight and said, "I ain't that guy, pal."
No, I agree with you. I mean, he looks like I understand. I'm not stereotyping. He looks like a lumberjack, right? He's like,
He is part of the lumberyard, so
that's it. He's a hard worker, simple type dude. Looks like a good team guy. Always been well liked wherever he's been, and I think that he made a good impression with Bednar and company and the players. I mean, everybody seems to be feeling pretty good by his presence, his attitude, his play, obviously. So I love it. I love the fact that I think he's got the work first mentality. And tonight, just if you're rewatching the game and he makes, saves where he's smothering pucks, and just press pause and you'll see he's on top of the blue. He's in perfect position. This is a big goaltender, and Rudo knows that I'm not necessarily in love with big goaltenders because they usually don't move well. And they rely more on their size. But this guy's got great mechanics. He's got great pushes. He's got great movement. And he knows exactly where he is in the crease. So if he doesn't have to scramble, because he's in the right position. I always said that about Patty Waugh. He kind of made every save look easy. There was a reason for that because he was always in the right place. As a goaltender, you can make every save look unreal. And what a spectacular save. But at the end of the day, it's because you don't know where you're at in the net, and then usually that ends up biting you, and you can't really keep the consistency of that type of goaltending. But this guy is very sound mechanically. I think he's a good athlete, and he's got size, so it's a dangerous combination. I think he just didn't have the right fit for wins in San Jose. I think in Jersey it was more, like I said, an injury problem for a few years. And again, too much too soon. He was young in the NHL. That I like guys to be in the American League for longer than shorter than they would. For me, it's just the greatest place to be to develop your game and everything. So I think if you could make a combo of all those comments I just made, he's at the right place right now. It's a perfect fit for the Avalanche, and it's a perfect fit for himself as a 28-year-old athlete aspiring to, sounds like it, to win in the playoffs. A place that he's never really been in a position to do so.
We'll get to our first star in just a second because our first star is a little bit bigger than it usually is. But before we talk about star number 1, we also need to talk about Breck Brew. Breckenridge Brewery, the official craft beer of DNVR. Make sure you go get yourself some. You can get it in any local liquor store, basically, in the United States. Use the Breck Beer Locator online at breckbrew.com, or you can also head down to the DNVR bar. During Avs games, you can get $2 off a Breckenridge Brewery, and we will be back at the bar for the Avs next game. So come join the fun. I've already had someone reach out that's going to come by and grab a beer with me in the first week of January. So anytime you guys want to swing by, shoot me a message on Twitter or whatever, and we'll have a Breck Brew together. Do it. Go check out breckbrew.com today and get yourself the official craft beer of DNVR. And once you've got your Breck Brew in hand, make sure you're also taking care of the homestead. And that comes with building a good foundation or perhaps a good floor with Empire Today. You can join up with EmpireToday.com right now if you want to go online. They can have a whole projection tool where you can see what the floor will look like in your space. Or, of course, you can always get a free in-home estimate thanks to Empire Today's awesome services. They have professional installers as well, and they only carry the highest quality products, whether it's tile, carpet, or hardwood, whatever you like. And the best part is you'll get $350 off when you go to EmpireToday.com/DNVR. Let them know we sent you over there and get a great deal with Empire Today. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast as we finish up our 3 stars. And for the top star of this game, I am going with the entire country of Finland. The whole country. Obviously, Arturi Lehkonen leading the way with a hat trick tonight, but the other goal also scored by a Finn, Mikko Rantanen. And of course, if you go back to last game, the last 7 Avalanche goals have all been scored by players from Finland, including 2 hat tricks. So, Eric, what are they feeding the kids in that country?
It's got to be some raw salmon, isn't it? Like, I
Surströmming, is
used
that the
to,
Swedish thing? I think not Finland. Or
whatever. But oh boy, I like it. They seem to have fun together. All the Finnish guys, Mikko being the Godfather, and you got Lecky. They lost obviously Eustace. They got Kivi Ranta. Now they got Anila. Am I missing? Who am I missing? It just seems
I think
like
that's it.
they're
Yeah.
that's about it. But they seem to have fun. I've always felt that guys from overseas they benefit from having one or two guys from their country. I'm still a firm believer in that. I remember and this is just a little side thing there, like Forsberg, all
Yeah.
those years coming up to my dad, and I always wanted to have a fellow Swede with him. It just didn't pan out like for a lot of years, and then we got Tommy Salo one year as a backup. At the end of the year for the playoffs, and Peter thought it was the greatest thing in the world, to have a fellow Swede with him, and I just we had the Russians, Kaminsky, Gusarov, and again Ozo was the Latvian, but they fell in that same category. They just had that camaraderie together. I feel that I don't know. I just feel that it's just important to bring you back a little bit to life and to reality of when you have someone that speaks your native tongue, and if they're married or the girlfriends or whatever it usually is a big deal too. So they don't feel lonely as well. So I don't know. I feel that the Finns have it, and they're so good. The Finns that the Avs have, right? Started with
Yep.
Mikko, and then our first star Lecky tonight. I'll say it again. If you're a father and you're trying to teach your son how to play hockey, make him watch the Avalanche, and then make him watch all of our Terry Lehkonen shifts, because most games, everything he does is the right play. He's mastered the art of doing the simple things. To look no further than that. Is it the second goal? He just drives the net, stops right in front, and then takes one and two whacks at it. He's not picking the corners. He's not, it's just simple hockey. Your stick is a weapon. We call him Good Stick Lecky for a reason. Your stick is a weapon defensively. It's a weapon offensively. It dictates or it pushes the play when you're on the PK. Where you want the puck to go just by your stick placement. So Lehkonen is a star for me, and for any coaches in the National Hockey League. There's superstars, but then there's also Lehkonens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where
Yep.
you can play this guy anywhere you want in the lineup. He's gonna do the job. He's gonna make the right play. And then tonight, he does it again, and good on him. He gets his first try. He gets two cracks at his empty net goal there. He misses the first one. It was funny. He was kind of embarrassed, that their shoot and miss like 5 feet wide. But then he does it again a few seconds later. Good on him. Gets the hat trick. It's fun to see a guy like that get rewarded. And you can tell the guys were happy. And, he seems to – he plays the shy card there a little bit with the media, but this is a loud guy with the teams, and everyone respects him and everyone loves him, and you could see it in their faces tonight after he got that hat trick.
Very different stylistic players, but it feels similar in some ways to me, like the amp line back in the day, your day, Eric.
Yeah.
You have true superstar in Peter Forsberg. You have a star caliber player in Milan Hajduk, and then you have a not quite the same level as those guys, but a really, really good hockey player in Alex Tanguay.
Yep, absolutely, and it works. It works because they're all so smart, right? Their IQ is so high.
Yeah.
Lehkonen, works hard, and his helmet's too big, and then it's lower, and and he's not smooth. But at the end of the day, this guy knows where he's going on the ice. He's like I said, I'm just telling you, if you're a son, if you're a dad or anything, or a beer league or whatever you want, you just watch this guy play, and that's what you do. That's what you do. And for me, for the old people watching on the show, he's a left shot, Yuri Lehtonen, that used to be in Dallas as a right shot. Would play with Modano, would play. You know what I mean? Like they're just so smart. And I don't know what it is. They play hockey differently. They get to this league and they're smart. Usually all all Finns, and even Swedish guys, they know the game. They're brought up differently. I don't know what they do for the development over there. But I tell you one thing, boy, oh boy, do these guys know how to play hockey when they get here.
The smartest thing these players do, and we've talked about it before, they know how to play with the best players. Look at the second goal. Great. Hard work from Lucky. Creates a rebound, creates havoc in front, and goes in. The first goal, dude goes right to the front of the net and says, Nathan MacKinnon will get it to me. It's all good. He'll figure it out. Sure enough, he gets to bang one home because Nathan MacKinnon figures it out.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's just, and people always say, like, oh, yeah, he reaps the benefits, or not Lucky, but anybody, that's not as good as a superstar. Oh, he reaps the benefit of playing with a superstar. Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing, and Nathan MacKinnon's no different than Wayne Gretzky or top end guys. They go to see the coaches and they're like, yeah, I want that Lehkonen, or I want that guy, because they know that he's going to do the right things. They know that it's going to be very consistent, always night in and night out. And then they know that he can compliment them. And then if they need the puck back, they'll get it back. You know what I mean? So it's very complimentary to know how to play with superstars. You're right with your comment. And once you find a guy like that, which is very surprising, not surprising, Montreal was going in a different direction. Like, they were going downhill, and they were going to be part of the, reconstruction, or whatever you want to, rebuild, whatever you want to call that word. And, so they had to let him go. But, man, oh, man, like I said, when the Avs got him, I was shocked because I really thought it was going to cost at the time a first and a prospect. Ended up being the second and Justin Barron, but which he was a first round pick. I don't know how they sold that one, but somehow it was a good return for both. But if you look at Chris and Joe and whoever, the staff there the last few years, that is a key trade in the history of the Avalanche right there.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. They weren't expecting Lehkonen to be this good, even if they thought he was good. It's a huge win for them, but I don't know how hard it is for you to make a poll right now, Tiff. But chat, we need to know, what shirt should come first? The Lumberyard for the goalies, or the Finnish Mafia for all of these Finns scoring hat tricks right now? By the way,
crazy.
5th hat trick of the Avs season. All 5 have come from Finland, and that's the most of any team in the NHL. So pretty good. Pretty good finish from Finland, I suppose.
See what the road does to you? They've been on the road they've been eating some raw salmon the whole time together on the road.
Look,
gives them hat tricks.
I will say, while Finland might be number 1 in this game, and shout out to Latvia, too. Taking down Team Canada in the WJCs tonight.
Boo. Boo. What a performance. You talk about goaltending.
Yeah.
Goaltending. He goes 8 for 8 in the shootout, and he goes, 58 out of 59 or whatever.
Yeah, it was some outrageous amount.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great job. That's a game you remember.
Oh,
the rest of your life, obviously. The rest of your life. That was fun. I mean, I really wasn't watching. I just saw the bit of the highlights, but it looked fun. I mean, like, the kid's like, oh my God, this is sick. You know what I mean? At the end of the game, I don't think he can believe that, what he just pulled off. Awesome for the kid. This is a night he'll remember. On Canadian soil on top of it. You know what I mean? It just kind of makes it like, put a little salt in the wound there. It's fine. I in World Juniors, it's fun to watch stories like that, like you saw tonight.
It had to throw it in there, even if that's not the game we're talking about. I do briefly want to talk about the one real negative I have from this game is one of the consistent problems for the Avs this year, and that is the penalties. They need to clean it up. They need to. The first period penalty from Giovanni Smith is just entirely unnecessary. The other 2 penalties were pretty clearly penalties, both the one on Inola and the one on Rantanen. That is, the Rantanen one's pretty tough for me to swallow. One, Mikko's upset about it. It's clearly a penalty. He runs into the back of the guy's skate. He tripped him. And that's a 1-goal game in a third period. You just can't have your superstars taking penalties in those situations, and it ultimately cost the Avs their only goal they gave up at the game.
And they've been so hot on the penalty kill, right? They've been so good. And then it just took a sick tip by Schmaltz. I mean, when you tip a puck, you're not really
Yeah, that's
doing that on purpose, but wow, it ended up being great. You know what I mean? But you're right. Right away I was like, damn, Miko. You know what I mean? Like
yep.
the first words that came out of my mouth. You know, it was like, oh, why? I know you're a big guy. You knew what you were doing. You knew you were beat, so you stay wide, and all of a sudden, you're clipping them. You're right. Unnecessary penalties. We talked about in pregame. Don't give them anything. That was more for the first period I was talking about, but obviously the rest of the game. But on a 1-0 game coming from one of your leaders, yeah, it's a bad penalty. And then it's just, I don't know. It just leaves a sour taste. And then next thing you know, Blackwood was sharp after that because it gave momentum to oh God, I was gonna say Phoenix, the Utah. You know what
Phoenix
I mean?
is 2 iterations ago, buddy. They were Arizona before.
Arizona. I'm sorry, Phoenix Coyotes. I'm old school, but it just gave them momentum. And then next thing you give one up there. Now you're down 2-1. The game turned on the dime because of something that, quite frankly, Utah didn't earn. You just kind of give them. You know what I mean? And that's why I hate that. I have no problem if the other team beats you or finds ways to get to you. But when it's like a gift, like a too many men or, a careless penalty like that or offensive zone penalty or a fourth line penalty when it's a roughing penalty, those are things that leaves you with a sour taste and will leave the coaching staff and your teammates too in a manner of like, God, why again? You know what I mean? So you got to clean that up. I agree with you.
I did want to be honest about the game because I think I've been pretty darn positive about the Avs and deservedly so. But those penalties, a nagging issue for Colorado for sure. Even if they'd had killed 16 of their last 17 with that goal going in, good. Penalty kills getting better, but the best penalty kill is not being on one. So do that. I think I don't know if I've asked you this before, and I probably have, but it's been a while. The Nathan MacKinnon fight. Is there ever concern about a guy like that getting into a fight? Are you worried about injury there, or do you just let Nathan MacKinnon be Nathan MacKinnon against this one specific club?
Yeah, no, it always seems to be against them, right? I think if you're a coach or you're a teammate or you're Chris on the press box, or Joe or anybody, I think you're holding your breath a little bit because you're like, why is he doing that? You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes it was like Forsberg back then. Like, oh, stop getting into those tussles and those little like whatever skirmishes after the whistle with I don't know, Darian Hatcher in Dallas or whatever. But it was like you take that away from him, like you're taking away part of his like personality on the ice, and I think that's what goes with Nate too. I think if you look at it again, there's not a lot of punches thrown. You know what I mean? I think it's more like a, please don't punch because you don't want him to break his wrist or his hand. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's kind of more of like a wrestling match, and you're just getting your aggression, your anger out. Then you're good for a couple months now. You know what I mean? We all know that Nate can be angry, and so I think but it's good to see that because I think the rest of the league knows that he'll defend himself. You know what I mean? If something happens, I think the league has been accustomed to see that from him. It's not like, oh wow, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, or Crosby, they got into a fight. You know what I mean? And Crosby been around 20 years, and I don't know, maybe he's got 3 fights or 4 fights. You know what I mean? It's a little
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, like rare. You know what I mean? Where I think this one's more like, oh, okay, MacKinnon just being MacKinnon. You know what I mean? Like he's
that's what it felt like.
Yeah, he's releasing some anger. You know what I mean? Like it's fine. Like, but the bad thing is obviously injuries. But he's so strong and so smart. I don't think he would ever go like bombs for bombs or toe to toe. You know what I mean? Like, again, I hope not. But it's also that you're losing him for 5 minutes, so maybe it's good. You know what I mean? Because it gives him a break for 5 minutes, and then then he gets back out there and he's more fresh and because he's like, okay, I got some anger out. Maybe I can just go play more. But tonight, sometimes if I don't think it was more Hayton that's looking for it. I think it was more Nate that was looking for it. You know what I mean? And wanted to get something out of the way. And you know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's not like he was defending himself. It looked like a nothing burger that caused it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I think it was more like, okay, I'm getting into one tonight. You know what I mean? And he did. Now he's good for the rest of the year or whatever. You know, that's kind of what it felt like to me.
I agree.
But hey, all good, no injuries.
Yeah,
Move
it's all
on.
good. It worked out. Happy with
Yep.
it. Uh, Not sure what the odds on Nathan McKinnon were getting into a fight tonight, but I can tell you that the odds of Latvia winning were plus 40,000 on Bet365. So
Unreal. Imagine that.
yeah, you could have made some money. You could have made some money right there. Don't think anyone took that bet, but would have been fun. So let's hit our ad break here and make sure you're doing your betting with Bet365. Of course, when you head over there and use code DNVR365, you get $150 in bonus bets. And of course, you can have a ton of fun. It's basically playing with free money. You don't even have to bet on hockey. It doesn't have to be the Avs or World Juniors. You can bet on the Nuggets, who gave up. Hey, I guess you should have bet the over in the Nuggets game, not the Avs game tonight. That score was outrageous. Um, Whatever you want to bet on, maybe it's the Broncos to get into the playoffs. Bet365 has all your sports covered. So jump in with them, use that DNVR365 code. And of course, when you do gamble with Bet365, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. And once you've won a little bit of money on Bet365, you can actually maybe go to the games that you bet on with Game Time. You can use Game Time today. Join over 15 million people that use Game Time to get their tickets, and use their new Game Time Picks feature, which will get you the best tickets for the best price. They filter out all the junk when we're searching for stuff. They'll only show you the best deals for where you want to sit. And Game Time has you covered for not just sports, but also theater, the concerts, movies, you name it, wherever it might be. Game Time guarantees you the best price. And if you find tickets cheaper elsewhere, they'll reimburse you 110% of the ticket price. So join Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time, baby. Use the DNVR code to get $20 off your first purchase with Game Time. Final period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Look, Eric, I know it's game 37, but did that game feel a little bit like a playoff game?
It did. You never know what can happen when you're playing divisional opponents. What do I mean by that? You never know what can happen by the end of the year, where you are in the standings. I like Utah. I didn't like them this summer. I felt that, I think quite like Ottawa, I felt they were going to be like, you know what I mean? Like just kind of like the last couple years. Ottawa certainly started that way, and now they've been really good. Obviously, name me a good goalie, and name me a good team. And Allmark has played really good till he got hurt last game. But what I'm saying is, Utah's been more consistent, and I'll say it. I didn't expect them to be that way. And I again tonight it's almost game 40, like you said, and I feel that they've made a lot of strides the last couple years. You know, what I mean, I think they've had a plan. They've stuck to it. Keller is becoming the player that has been. He puts up points, but also plays a better team structured game, I would say. Than he did before. When you're getting goaltending, you're dangerous, and you're right. It felt a little bit like we talked about it in pregame. Like, I know I don't look at standings, but you got to know where you are, and you got to know who's behind you. You know what I mean? And tonight was that game where, yes, there's 2 games in hand for Utah towards the Avalanche, but there was 4 points behind before the game started. Now you're at 6 points, and it felt like, yeah, you got to challenge yourself on a December 27th game. You know what I mean? And no better way to challenge yourself than to be on a divisional opponent's ice in tough circumstances, having traveled that day, and against a team that's played well the last 10 games, or the whole year for that matter. And yeah, it felt like a little playoff atmosphere. Like you said, a little bit of a, Nathan McKinnon got into a fight, all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And it was a tight game, for the
Yep.
most part. It was a really tight game. And I felt there was a lot of scoring chances, and, maybe not great A's, but there certainly was a lot of momentum going both ways. And both goalies, If they felt that it was a playoff game, then they would have said mission accomplished. So I can play in the playoffs because they were both excellent tonight.
Yeah. I know it's game 37, and even from a standings position, it's not that important. But this was two Central teams going head to head, and the Avs winning this game puts Utah out of reach of the Avs. The Utah games in hands are now not enough to catch the Avs in the standings. So is it really a playoff game? No, but you get that little bit of a playoff feel because this was a slightly bigger game than normal for both of these teams.
Yeah, and it's fun when you catch each other playing well. You catch each other, forget about playing, the plane ride this morning, but, you both been off for 3-4 days, you know what I mean? So it's not like there's an excuse that you've been on a long road trip. And, so for some reason, I was excited for the game, not because there hasn't been any games for 4 days, but yes, that's part of it. But I just felt that Utah's playing well. It's on the road. The Avalanche have played well on the road. They've played well the last 10 games. And now they know that it's this one-off, but they don't even get to sleep at the hotel except a nap in the afternoon. They're back home here very shortly, if not already. No, actually, it's too soon. But very shortly, they'll be back. And then they get 3 days of, I'm sure they'll go practice, day off practice. I'm assuming that's what they're going to do. And then you have that homestand there that you've been looking forward to for a while. So I think it was important for the Avs to come out and to beat that divisional opponent and to let them know, hey, you've been playing pretty good, but you're not as good as us. And, I think it just you kind of slapped them a little bit and say, you get back to reality there.
Yep.
Their hockey club, I wasn't going to say Coyotes, I can't. But hockey club, you get back to reality there. And, you got ways to go before, being able to keep up with us on a nightly basis.
A question from Willie in the chat saying, for Rudo, are we solid in net now? Yes.
We're a lot more solid than you were a month ago.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about that.
Boy.
Ended up being a more even night than we were expecting around the league. For the first half of the night, Toronto, the only road team to win in the first 5 games, but then Minnesota came back against Dallas to win in OT, and Vegas came back against San Jose to win, as well as the Avs, of course. So even for a same-day travel day, pretty even split. 5 home teams, 4 road teams win.
Yeah, and it was more like the first periods, right? Now that we talked about, it got ugly for a few teams in the first period, like the Blackhawks and even the Wild. I mean, like they were down 2-0 in the first period. So, by the way, I don't know if you saw that OT goal. I'm not taking it anyway from Faber, but I'm not sure what Ottinger was doing there. He totally misread that play, but whatever. Again, I like Andre. For me, I thought that was a weird choice of play there by him. He just kind of, it looks like he gives up. He gives up, but he doesn't. He just made the wrong play. But anyway, you're right. I was expecting worse around the league than, but it certainly was looking bad. You know what I mean? Like halfway through all the games.
Yeah. Had either of Dallas or San Jose held on, you'd have been like, yeah, not a great night for road teams. But
yeah. They did.
Either way, the Avs do survive this one. They have 3 days off coming up, and then they get Winnipeg for their annual New Year's Eve game against Winnipeg, which also they usually don't do very well in. But at least that one's at home. At least we'll be back in the DNVR bar. So for that one, we can do winner shots in the bar for real. Don't have winner shots here at home, but thank you very much, Chad. We appreciate y'all a lot for giving us the likes, and we're excited to get back into the studio and do some live watch alongs and all that stuff with you. We do have a couple of super chats to get to here, and then I will wrap things up. First, from the incredible Drew himself, saying Blackwood for Vezina at plus 4,000. LOL. Take care, guys. See you soon. I don't know if I'd go that far, but hey, get in on it now if you're a believer. It's good money. Put it to you that way. Thank you very much. And then one other, Eric's favorite, the Walrus here. Blackwood has trustworthy farts. Let's buy Eric a Georgiev Av sweater. # no more skid marks.
I'm old, but I still laugh about skid marks and farts. I love it. The walrus is the guy. He's my guy. I love it.
Always a fun time. Looking ahead, let me ask you this. Have the Avs finally found some consistency?
I do believe so, because the way I look at it, again, that's the forward in me talking here. It starts in the net, and when you're consistent in the net, and don't forget about the other lumberyard, whatever you want to call that, Wedgwood.
Yep.
He's been great too, and if he can be like the great backup that he's supposed to be, keeping Mackenzie Blackwood sharp and fresh, it starts there, and those guys are calming the waters. And then you have a number one D in Cale Makar. Then you have a number one superstar in down the middle in Nathan McKinnon. Those are elements that you can build around, and those are the elements that if they're three of those pieces are playing up to their potential, it will give you some stability. And I think that's where you find consistency, and that's where you find belief. And that's when you can go on a magical run. And it starts, for me, it always has, the backhand and the goaltending position is so crucial. You don't think it's important until you don't have it. I do believe the Avalanche did not have it. And I believe that now they have it, and this will prove where that, the consistency and the belief and like you just said, being solidified, the whole thing, and to move forward with high expectations.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The expectations were high for this team at the start of the season, with an understanding that there might be a rough patch to start things off. There kind of was, but I know it's hard. I know hope is the thing that kills you sometimes, but I think it's okay to have a little bit of hope about the Colorado Avalanche right now and where they're at. We are going to wrap up this post-game show, though. We will be live tomorrow for an off-day show, so make sure you tune into that. We might talk about the Avs, a little bit of a resurgence in goal scoring and how they're starting to find the back of the net a little bit better over the last month or so. So enjoy that if you want to check that out. Also, again, go check out our emergency pod if you want more about the Blackwood signing, or you can check out AJ's written piece. He probably already has his game story or studs and duds up also on the DNVR. So go check all that stuff out. We are out of here. This has been the DNVR Avalanche postgame presented by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.